What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the New York Sports Take. My name is Matt O'Connor. Today I'm joined alongside Andrew Huber and Andrew Nadler. Boys, excited to be here once again. We recorded an episode, I want to say, was it 2 weeks ago now? Maybe a little bit over that. Yeah, and it was great. We went on for a really long time. We'll probably be a little bit shorter than that today, but we still have so much to cover. It's going to be an action-packed Monday evening. How you fellas doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Happy to be here. Huber, how are you? I don't know if he's with us. He's on mute right now, but all right. Nonetheless, we're going to get started anyway. I'm sure he's doing good. Yeah, there he is. Okay, guys, let's get right into it. New York Knicks. It was rough. The last time I record, 2 episodes I recorded ago. It will be 2 weeks this coming Wednesday, so in a couple days. And the Knicks were in the midst of an awful, horrendous, woeful stretch of basketball. They had lost 9 of 11. Things were as ugly as you can imagine. And now they pulled it together. They've gotten themselves up off the mat. I think it's a 6-game winning streak, right? They won 6 in a row now. So 6-game winning streak. Started with the get-right game in Brooklyn. That never fails to be true. They've now beaten the Nets 13 straight times since Nick Claxton uttered the words, "I never lose to the Knicks." Well, now you only lose to the Knicks. They've been playing really good lately. Nice win against the Lakers last night. It was a very hot ticket. A lot of buzz around it potentially being LeBron James's last game playing at Madison Square Garden. Personally, I can't see that dude retiring without the full farewell tour and flowers and applause. I think he's going to come back for another year, either sign another contract with the Lakers or go to another team and come back for another year. I just don't see this being it for him. With that being said, it is a possibility. He was in Cleveland the other day. He had said, "This could be my last game here." He got all teary when they had the tribute video. And then the Lakers roll into the Garden yesterday. I don't know why. I was kind of tired. I was in and out of sleep watching that game. The Knicks put together another solid performance. The role players stepped up. Another game in which a little bit to be desired from Cat, even in this winning streak. His rebounding's been extraordinary, but a lot of the other things that he's just not living up to his standard altogether this season as far as scoring efficiency goes and all those metrics. But still a really big win. Bench got involved. Tyler Kolek was good too. And for me, guys, this goes back to that because the first win was good, right? They beat the Nets. Great. The largest margin of victory, actually, in franchise history. The lowest output of points that they've allowed an opponent since 2012. They held the Nets to 66 points in that game. So things are all fine and dandy after that, but that's what you expect to do in your home court. I don't care what the state of the team is. You expect to bludgeon the Brooklyn Nets. Then they beat Philly in a game it felt like they kind of got away with. Maybe they didn't totally deserve that one. They had like a 15-point lead with under 5 minutes left. Then the last possession comes around, and the Sixers have the ball down 3 with the chance to tie it. So then there's that. You're a little iffy trying to think about the win after that. I think they were back at the Garden. They beat the Kings. Nice win there, but it's the Kings who they somehow lost to out west. Not a bad win by any means. Brunson played well. He buried the Kings in the fourth quarter. But for me, the turning point really happened in that game. It was either last Wednesday or Thursday when they beat the Toronto Raptors on the road. Very convincing win. That improved them to 29-18 that game. And they outscored Toronto by 31 in the second half, which was unbelievable. Down 11 with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Mikal Bridges just exploded. And I'm not going to want to do a game recap about that one game. They played games since then. But to me, that was I haven't seen a run. I haven't seen the Knicks have a run like that, like they did in the third quarter there, all year, where, particularly Bridges got hot, but Anunoby was burying threes in the corner. The defense was tenacious. They were forcing turnovers all over, getting downhill fast in transition. Cat was not really scoring at a season-high 20 rebounds in that game. OG had 6 steals, 5 dunks, 26 points. And Bridges, like I said, 7 of 8 in the third quarter. He was ridiculous. Robinson was getting involved. It wasn't even a big Shamet game, but that to me turned things around. And I'll lead in with you guys with this. How much better do you feel about this team over the course of these last 6 games than you did after that rough stretch of losing 9 of 11. They've stabilized things, right? They feel a lot more like the team that we saw pre-NBA Cup, the team that we believed is the best in the Eastern Conference. So for me, that's really refreshing. Is the boat kind of still rocking in your mind, or do you feel a lot better about the performance these last couple weeks?
I'll start, I guess. But I've definitely felt a lot better with how they've played recently. Every team goes through losing stretches. It happens, but that was very bad, as we all know. What were they, 2-11 in 13 games? I mean, they couldn't shoot. They had games where they were making less than 20. They were shooting under 20% from three in certain games. And the Knicks, a lot of their success this year comes off their three-point shooting. They're third in the league in three-point percentage. When they shoot at a high clip, they usually win a lot of games. During that stretch, none of them really shot well. It all seemed like everybody was in a slump. And listen, it happens. The Pacers had a 2-10 stretch last year. They ended up making the NBA Finals. It happens, but I've loved the way they've been playing recently. Giannis has been electric on both sides of the ball. When they defend, you could beat anybody. That's how it is. But sometimes they get lazy and their defense collapses. I don't know. I feel like that's how I feel.
Yeah, and after that losing streak kind of reached its pinnacle there, Mike Brown, following the loss to, what was the worst of that losing streak?
Mavs.
Yeah, after that, yes, correct. So that was MLK Day, and that's when it was at its worst. They lost to Dallas, who's not a very good team, and were missing pretty much all of their key cogs on that team. They lost to the Mavs at MSG, and Mike Brown was like, we're making big defensive changes. He didn't specify at the time what those changes were that were made, but they certainly worked. I mean, after that, the first game, 66 points to the Nets. Then Philly had probably the most that we've seen. I think they had 109, around 110 or something like that. But their first 4 or 5 games out of the chute following that stretch, they were limiting opponents to around 87, 88 points a game, which is fantastic. And now that's sort of regressed to the mean. But points per game has gone way down since then. So you appreciate that. What's the thing that they do? The workman boots for the defensive player of the game.
Yeah, the construction fit. The hard hat, the vest, the Timbs.
Exactly. The defensive changes have worked to some degree. They still have strides to make. One guy who's an excellent rebounder, I just mentioned him. He had a season high, career high potentially. Not sure about that. Have to check me on that. With the 22 boards against Toronto last week, I'm still worried about his defense, man. And I'm worried about the fact that by most accounts, this basketball team, even in the midst of this winning streak, and Drew, I'm going to lead you in on this, get your opinion on Cat, is playing better without him on the floor. They played better without him on the floor against Philly. They played better without him on the floor last night. And it's a continuous trend, and it's not a good one. And the NBA trade deadline is in just a few days. Do you think it's possible, before we talk about Giannis, both of you guys, do you think that it's possible that Karl Anthony Towns gets packaged in a trade that doesn't involve Giannis?
I think it's a long shot for that to happen. I get it. Cat, he's struggling offensively. Defensively, he's kind of like a traffic cone. You can say not very good. But, I don't think there's a world where if the Knicks do end up trading Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think there's a world where they don't get Giannis Antetokounmpo out of it.
I agree. I mean, what Drew said, I really think it's a long shot as well. But I've said this to you all year, Matt, when we talk about the Knicks. And it just seems like ever since October, even he said it himself, he didn't really know his role in this team under Mike Brown. And that's already, when he's saying that before the season, that's like a red flag. He doesn't know where he's going to fit in the offense. And honestly, he still doesn't, because he really hasn't been himself all year. This is probably one of the worst seasons of his career besides his rookie season.
He's still an all-star.
Yeah, and he's still an all-star, which is crazy to me. I mean, listen.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. He's having his worst year. He's having his worst year, and I heard somebody say, well, he's getting less minutes or whatever this year. Well, his points per minutes on the floor is down. His field goal percentage is lower than it's ever been. His 3-point field goal percentage is ever than it's lower been. So it's not just one thing that you could point to with the Cat struggles and continue on. But it's not like he's flawed in one area this year.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, he's shooting 36% from three still, which is, I mean, listen, that's very good. I'm not gonna say that's for Cat, that's low for him because he's a 40% 3-point shooter. He always has been. He's the best shooting big of all time. We know this, but it's hard because it doesn't look like he wants to be there sometimes. Like there's times where the Knicks are playing better basketball and he's not on the floor because he's not impactful on defense. He fouls way too much, and he gets it. Like, for example, I know you guys watched that Philadelphia game. He fouled out in 16 minutes of basketball. He committed 6 fouls in 16 minutes. You can't.
And it's frustrating because he was shooting well that game, actually.
How many of those fouls came on offense? Probably more than half of them. Because every time he drives to the hoop, he likes to wrap his arm around the defender, which they call every single time, and it's a problem. It's mental things you have to learn from, and he's an amazing player. I don't want to take anything away from Cat. I love the guy. He's a great player, but he needs to figure it out. I mean, otherwise they're going to have to move on.
Okay, well, let me throw this at you. This was, I talked about this with Jack Colucci on the podcast not too long ago. I wouldn't do this. I'm not even crediting myself for coming up with this trade. I read it in an article posted by Stephan Bondy of the New York Post. Cat for Jeremy, or I think it's Jeremiah Grant and Drew Holiday out there in Portland. Now, they both kind of come with a similar profile. Drew Holiday's like 35 years old or older than that. Jeremy Grant?
It's Jeremy Grant, yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's also a similar kind of player to him. Long arms, good defender, pretty efficient from three. So you kind of know what you're getting out of both those players. They're going to provide pretty consistent results for you. And at this point, you kind of know what you're getting out of Cat, even though it's a disappointing year for him. But we all know his ceiling, right? So a trade like that, you're importing two guys that are going to improve the defense, but your scoring ability goes down. Would you make, first of all, because that sounds like one of the more realistic offers or things that the Knicks would get back for Cat. I don't know if there was any draft picks in there, if the Knicks were throwing in like a later round pick or they were getting on one in return. I can't remember, to be honest, but that's pretty much the meat of the trade there. Would you do that, or would you do something similar to that, or would you feel like it's worth staying the course if you're not getting Giannis?
I would stay the course because I don't really think that trade benefits the Knicks. I think me going into the Knicks deadline, I think you keep listen, if it's not for Giannis, I think you just keep Cat. I mean, and honestly, then me personally, I really don't think Giannis is even going to be moved, and we'll get into that. But listen, Cat was so good last year. Like you don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals without Cat, and you guys know that. He was awesome last year. In the playoffs, there was plenty of big time shots he hit to win us games. I can think of one right now against the Pistons. He had a crazy step back three that was
awesome,
insane. So it's in there. I mean, listen, he averaged 25 points per game as a Knick last year, shooting 44% from three. I mean, that doesn't go away. He's always been able to do that, which is. And I think maybe he's struggling right now. I don't know if he gets out of it, but if you're going to do anything like that and, trade him for a small package, I would wait till the offseason, until the season ends.
Yeah, and a credit to him because in his worst season that he's pretty much ever had, he's still an all-star. We could sit here and debate. It's not worth our time, but you could debate whether he should be or not, but he is. So that's kind of impressive on his part. But, I just wanted to get a gauge on that from you guys. I feel like, because I just want to know what the pulse of the Knick fan is with Cat right now. I haven't really I guess Jack was kind of more fed up with him than us. He would have liked to see a trade happen. He didn't like that particular one that I threw out with the two Trailblazers. But I'm kind of in lockstep with you, Andrew. I think he's a really talented player. One of the things you said, which I have been shouting from the rooftops ever since we brought him in, he's the best three-point shooting big man of all time. He's elite back there. Even this year, 36%. That's way bigger than most 7-footers out there ever have a realistic shot at doing. Guy's 7 foot tall, so impressive shit from him. And I don't know, hopefully the defense improves. It starts with taming himself and just being more disciplined in the paint because the fouls that he commits to, I always say it, not only are they nonsensical, but a lot of times are avoidable too, especially on the offensive side of the floor. Just would love to see him spending a lot less time complaining and a little bit more time just focusing on the fundamentals and keeping those hands up, not leaning forward. But yeah, no, you can't deny what a great rebounder he's been this year. It's his best rebounding season for sure. All right, let's get into these Giannis rumors now. I said before we hit the record button, we're talking a little bit. I like to kind of get this talk out of the way just because, believe me, I want it to happen. I want to talk Giannis all day, but I just don't see him moving. Now, this conversation has had levels to it where people really started to put Bucks were struggling. Obviously, this really dates back to the summer when the rumors started to get thrown into the pot a little bit, and then Giannis reportedly telling his agent if he were to get dealt, he would want to be a Knick. Then he shuts that down. Then the season start, the Bucks actually get off to a decent start to the season with him, so the rumors die down a little bit. Then a couple months ago, they started cooking a little bit again with the Bucks struggling and the Knicks not being perfect even before that 9 out of 11 stretch and whatever. Then they die down, and then as of a couple weeks ago, the Bucks reportedly are starting to listen to offers on Giannis. They know that this is something that has to be done for the betterment of the future of their organization, that the current state of their team and their roster is not good enough, and they pretty much have to trade him. But with that said, they are reportedly willing to wait. They are not all in, that has to get done this deadline. They would be fine holding off for the trade deadline and waiting for more appealing offers come the summer. Ultimately, that's when I think it's going to happen. But even if it does happen now, I just don't see it being the Knicks with how the compensation would work. But the Knicks are reportedly one of those teams that is going to be aggressive, has already been on the phone with the Bucks, and will continue to make offers at this time. So We'll talk about the whole trade deadline and maybe what the Knicks can do if they don't get Giannis, if it's just a ancillary piece that can help the bench or something like that. But this is getting as real as it's ever been. So let's talk compensation here. First of all, actually, I assume both of you would be pro-trade for Giannis. It makes the team better.
Well, yeah, of course. Giannis is like a generational player. He's insane.
The top 3 player in the sport.
Yeah, he's incredible. Where it's like, if he got dealt to the Knicks, it's just their offense becomes even more lethal, defensively more lethal, where it's like they look better, but it just seems so unrealistic to happen.
One thing I'll say about a Giannis trade to the Knicks here is if you're acquiring Giannis and you're trading Cat, because Cat probably goes in a deal to make the money work, a starting lineup of Giannis and Mitch can't really work technically because they both can't shoot, so the spacing would be a kind of
weird,
a little shaky. But sometimes you're willing to make those moves because it has to happen. Giannis, again, generational talent, top 3 player in the sport. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and then listen, you retool in the offseason if it doesn't work, and you fix those things. But if you have a chance of getting Giannis, I think you always just take your shot. That's how I am.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Let's talk about the compensation as far as what would happen, and simplistically, you could make a whole podcast on this, and I won't get too deep into the financial side as I don't understand it that deeply myself. But basically, the Knicks are hard capped at the second apron. There's basically aprons in the NBA. There's a salary floor. There's a first apron. There's a second apron. And then you're hard capped after that. Then that's where the actual salary cap comes into play. So the Knicks are currently in that upper echelon. They're hard capped at the second apron. So in any deal that would be done for Giannis, or rather for any player that the Knicks want to acquire at the trade deadline, there would have to be more money going out than salary that they could take in. They cannot take in any additional salary with the way that their team is constructed at this time. So their asset deficit is not really in a good position right now. Karl Anthony Towns, 3 years, $172 million remaining in his salary. That's a lot. And I think Cat's a good player, provides a lot to a team. I don't think he's worth that contract at all. That's like 55 million next year, something like that. Giannis will make over 58 million next year. So the salaries that's the one thing. The salaries do really work well for the Knicks right now because I think Cat is making literally the same amount of money. So just for the sake of the argument too, they're both making 58 million, so you don't have a problem with salaries there. And it's gonna take, on top of that, two of your other starters at that point in time. And those starters are most likely to be, well, not two of the starters. You're probably sending Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride, which is a lot. And Deuce McBride, and the Bucks said, you're definitely sending them Deuce because the Bucks had stated that in any trade for Giannis, the two big things that they're looking for, I have the quote, it's, quote, blue chip young talent and or a surplus of young draft picks. That's the thing. That's the thing. The Knicks don't have that to offer. The most relevant thing to that sentence that they have to offer, because they have no draft compensation down the line here the next couple of years because they dealt the 5 first-rounders for Mikal Bridges. They have Deuce McBride and the former young talent. And I like Deuce. I don't know if he's blue chip talent. So you're giving up him. Apparently, the Portland Trail Blazers really like Mikal Bridges. So I'd imagine in any sort of trade, the Blazers would be sending, this isn't an ideal work, this is an ideal mock trade. The Blazers will send a bevy of picks to Milwaukee. We'll send them Mikal Bridges, and we're sending the Bucks Karl Anthony Towns. That's, I guess, as simple as it would go. We would also probably give up maybe a Tyler Kolek or another bench piece as well, but that's most of the trade right there. Is that something you'd be willing to do? You would almost have to think of it like, because the Knicks gave up those 5 first-rounders for Bridges, and fans are still up in whims about that, those draft picks ended up being Giannis and Cat as well, who you're paying. Would that be the straight-up trade? That would be the most sensible. I'll be honest about it. I would be willing to do it. I would have those teams on the phone right now. And an in-season trade, a third team would have to come in simply because the Knicks have no draft compensation to offer. I would do that right here, right now.
I'll say this about a trade for Giannis. Yes, I would definitely do a trade like that, but if we're being honest, I think the Knicks have the least to offer out of the 4 teams that Giannis wants to go to or is in rumors with. Like, the 4 teams that are the most involved in Giannis talks are the Wolves, Warriors, Heat, and Knicks. Those are the 4. The Warriors have future first-round picks that, after Curry, that are very valuable because once Curry retires, those picks could be lottery picks, depending on how things go. The Heat have Hero, Khalil Ware, a bunch of young talent over there, and they have picks. So that's another good package they can get. And they also have Bam, who's another good player.
Right.
While the Wolves may not have the draft picks, but they have good young talent. They have Jaden McDaniels. Yeah, they have players over there, and they have Gobert, who can also go in a deal there. So,
right, yeah, that would be a good salary dump for them.
Yeah, salary dump. And the Warriors also have Jimmy Butler, so he could be a salary dump there too, because he makes $60 million. So do I think Giannis is going to get moved? Personally, I don't. But if he is moved, my guess is that he goes to the Warriors because it just makes too much sense for the draft picks wise. But when you're asking me about the trade for Holiday and McCall in a deal like that, yes, I would do that.
Yeah, and you mentioned all the teams. I read the Heat, the Warriors, the Hawks, the Raptors, Timberwolves, and Lakers are the teams right now that are linked to it. Which is kind of annoying. The Heat are probably most equipped with Hero and all the draft compensation and young players. They have Fettuccino or whatever his name is, a few other guys that might be appealing for the future of Milwaukee. So watch out for them in this whole thing as well. Also, now the offers can get more competitive during the summer, but maybe you don't have to involve a third team if you're the Knicks and you're looking to do this over the summers. The Bucks, as I said, are willing to wait because at that point you can add 2 future first-round picks if they get it done this offseason. Antetokounmpo, here's one thing, and now that we've covered compensation and everything like that, my thing is, yes, you're getting rid of your second-best scorer or overall player in Karl Anthony Towns, as much maligned as he may be in some regards, and you're getting rid of your most durable player and arguably, probably second most, but arguably your most sound defensive player on the team in Mikal Bridges. I would argue that it's OG Anunoby, but you're looking at a horse, a guy who takes the floor night after night, every single night, and plays pretty damn good defense. You know, can stretch the floor too. He could guard a small forward. He could guard a shooting guard. You could stick him on a point guard, and he moves his feet really well. Jalen Brunson, and everybody say, oh, what are you going to do with the ball and everything? Let's not forget the kind of player that Jalen Brunson was with the Dallas Mavericks in Dallas over there a few years ago. He was not the number one dude. He was not the ball-dominant force, the guy who had to have the ball in his hands when the game's on the line in the final 5 minutes. He's done an excellent job of playing that kind of guy here the last few years. Obviously, clutch player of the year. No Nick you rather have with the ball in his hands in crunch time. But Jalen Brunson is capable of being in the backseat. He was very successful with Luka Doncic doing that. And I feel like if Giannis was brought in here, he could successfully revert to that kind of player. Much like Bridges had to adjust his play style coming from the Nets to here, and he seemed to have been able to tune that in as well. So as far as the spacing of the floor goes, yes, you would have to figure it out. But I think in a sport, the state of the NBA right now, it's easier to do that than ever, to be able to make those adjustments on the fly. And I think Brunson would be able to, I don't want to say fit seamlessly, but feels like to me it could work that way. And then that opens up the floor for Mitchell Robinson to be your number one big there. Mitch has to be healthy in this iteration of a team. But let's talk about the defense, how this team would look defensively. Because Giannis, let's face it, he's probably better than Cat overall, but another not so great defensive player. Brunson obviously still there. It's a concern that's not going away for this team, whether you bring Giannis in or not. Do you think that you're still a championship team, even with all the defensive woes there, or another offseason would have to go by and the Knicks would have to add reinforcements for that too?
Drew, do you want to go?
I have nothing to say here.
All right,
this is not my expertise.
I'll say this. I mean, Giannis is a way better defender than Cat, so yeah, I think it improves. But you're losing Mikal, so that's like a tough guy to replace because who goes in the starting lineup then? Who knows? Is it Shamit? So yeah, you lose another wing defender, but Giannis is a way better defender than Cat, and although, listen, he hasn't been like the best defender since like 2021, but he's still definitely better than Cat because, Cat has brick feet and he can't move on defense. So yeah, I think it gets better. I'm just concerned more about the spacing than anything in my eyes, but I don't know. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, spacing, it's something people keep bringing up. I understand the concern or whatever, but listen, when the Knicks traded Emmanuel Quickly, and I know that's kind of Anunoby's strength is spacing, but you took away 2 of your regulars a few years ago at the trade deadline, and everybody was worried about the chemistry and the spacing or whatever. Anunoby got plugged into that lineup, and the Knicks had one of their best months in a decade. Pretty much as soon as he got there, he made an immediate impact, and then when he was taken out of the lineup due to injuries, they immediately struggled. And they were half the team they were when Anunoby was on the court. So I've seen the Knicks be able to do these trades before. My question is, how long does it really take to get well acclimated in the NBA to your surroundings and your players? Might be different in the NFL. I saw the Jets bring in receivers this year and whatever to learn the offense and the route concepts and the play design, everything like that. Might take longer to get going, but these guys, Brunson and Giannis, they're so uber talented, and Brunson's been able to play this kind of style before. And I think Giannis's game is only getting complemented by Brunson, who's also a really good playmaker, who can also pass the ball and move off the ball. And when he's off the ball, he's shooting the ball better too. So I think it only enhances Giannis's game as well. So I think from a on-the-floor standpoint, I'm more worried. I just don't see how the Knicks would be able to pull it off with all the other competitors here and how the salary structure, and they have no draft picks to offer, and the amount of teams interested. So I see all of those blocks going against the Knicks right now. But if they were to pull this off, all of the on-court concerns I'm at ease with. I don't really see that many issues. And it does stink. It really stings to lose McBride in this too, because he's such a spark for the Knicks, especially when he's going. You're losing your top spark off the bench there at only 25 years old. And I think I was reading it today. He's on like a 3-year, $14 million deal right now with still one, or maybe it's 5 years, still one more year left on that deal as well. So to lose one more year of Deuce at that low price would hurt as well. But we'll see how all this lines up. Anyway, we spent a lot of time on this, so I do want to move on. But any names, Andrew, and Nadler, I know you don't know that much about the NBA, but if you have somebody in mind too, that you would look at as a marginal piece for the Knicks right now that you like. Jose Alvarado is a name that's getting mentioned a lot. I don't know what a package of him looks like. You're probably getting rid of Gershon Yabusele, which I'd be more than happy to do, and I think most Knicks fans would agree with that. Yabusele's got a $5.7 million option next year that I'm sure he will pick up because he stinks and he's not worth that much money. So if you're able to package Yabusele, and for anybody I'm willing to do it who you think can help this team get better, but all the better if you could do it for Alvarado because he provides excellent depth at the guard position for the Knicks if they were to trade for him.
Yes, Alvarado is definitely on my list. Yeah, he's a small guard, but he's good defensively, and he brings energy and he brings a spark off the bench. But my main concern going to the deadline is wing depth. When listen, like we said last year, we can't have guys playing 37 minutes a night and you don't have depth. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges still have to play a lot of minutes because they don't really have depth at the wing position. And listen, Diawara, I think he'll be a good player in this league, but he's very young, and it's gonna take time. So I think Najee Marshall would be an excellent pickup. I don't know the cost of him or whatever it is, but the two names I like are Najee Marshall and Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey too. That would be nice. Wing depth's important. You see it, man. I mean, this team, their best on-ball defender is probably Miles McBride, or point-of-attack defender, on-ball defender, however you want to phrase it, or Landry Shamet. That's what Mike Brown said post-game a few games ago too. So point-of-attack defense, something they definitely need to improve. I think that's one facet of Bridges' defense that's really not that good. He needs to continuously work on that too. It looked like in the beginning of the year he just fit Mike Brown's system so perfectly, but I don't think that's the case. So get another guy who you trust as an on-ball defender, maybe somebody you can add a little bit more shooting to an already pretty elite shooting team. You mentioned third best in the league from downtown percentage, so that would be fine. I don't pay attention to that many names. I've heard the guys that you said thrown out there. Any trade needs to involve, and we have 2 second-round picks, I think. What if the Wizards win enough games, which they're not on pace to, and they won't, especially now, they're not going to play Trae Young, so the Wizards are so bad, so this will not turn into a first-round pick. I don't know how many wins it would require either. But the Knicks are going to have some second-round picks coming up. So you'd offer your 2026 second-round pick in Gershon Yabusele in hopes, and take on whatever player's salary and dumping off Yabusele's. So that's basically what a trade would be centered around. It'd be the second-round pick, Yabusele, and then bring in a guy like here. If you could get that done for any of the names that we mentioned, you do it. Or I saw, who's that white kid shooter on Miami? Fettuccino?
Fontecchio.
Fontecchio, yeah. Fontecchio's a good player. Balled out against the Knicks a little bit this year as well, so look out for him, but the Heat are not terrible, so we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. It's only a couple days away, but glad we were able to cover NYK and all things going on with them. Things looking so much better recently. And when's our next game? Andrew, you know?
I think it's tomorrow against the Wizards.
Okay, we got Washington tomorrow. So this winning streak, if it doesn't keep winning, then trade everybody if you lose to the Wizards. They are so garbage. Big one tomorrow. Let's keep this thing rolling. Go Knicks. All right, we're going to transition at this point in time. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about the Jets and everything, but there's just new stuff. And I don't even want to talk about Steve Tisch, okay?
There's things that happen we're not going to say on this program.
Well, I'll leave that to WFAN to discuss and a lot of other people out there. I don't really want to get into it, pro or civilian. You hear that's what he said?
It's a family-friendly show.
Yeah, like one of the girls he was hitting up or whatever, he asked Epstein if she was pro or civilian. Like, there was just some weird shit being thrown out. All right, let's talk about the Jets here. All right, they interviewed 9 guys. Well, they interviewed 8 virtual candidates for their defensive coordinator vacancy, and they didn't go with any 8 of them. Instead, they end up doing a 9th interview with Brian Duker, and they hire him the following day. This search started a long time ago. They started interviewing people on January 16th. They didn't come to an agreement with Duker until just a couple days ago. Real quick, Duker's background held roles as a defensive assistant and safeties coach and defensive backs coach with Aaron Glenn on that Lions staff from 2021 to 2023, where Glenn called plays as the defensive coordinator for the Lions. And now he's coming in as the defensive coordinator for Aaron Glenn, and Aaron Glenn will call the defensive plays for the Jets next year. So a big change off what was the original plan. Looked like the Jets were really close to closing in on a deal with Wink Martindale. It looked imminent at one point in time when he flew in for his second in-person interview a couple weeks ago. Looked like they were trying to get it done. That was not this Saturday, but the last Saturday. And apparently negotiations sort of cracked when Aaron Glenn ultimately decided, and I don't know the timeline of when he decided, that he wanted to call defensive plays. And obviously a guy like Wink Martindale, who's well-traveled throughout both the NFL and college world, was not willing to jump back into the NFL to be a DC who doesn't call plays. He's just beyond that at this point of his career with his age and his resume and everything. That was not going to happen. So the Jets end up going with a first-time guy, a guy who worked with Glenn with a little bit less of a profile, much less of a profile than a guy like Martindale, who will come in here now. And we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. The Aaron Glenn's defenses with throughout his career when he was an assistant or in New Orleans and then serving as the main DC at the Lions, it was a gradual improvement over his years as defensive coordinator there. I think you only have one way to go up when you're the only defense since 1933 when the NFL started recording stats. There's only one way to go up when you're a team that recorded 0 interceptions throughout the course of an entire season. So I can't see this defense really getting worse under Aaron Glenn than it was with Steve Wilkes. Verdict's not in on that yet. We'll see. I'll certainly be fired if it is. In 2024, Glenn's last year as Lions DC, they ranked 7th in EPA. The first 3 years under his tenure, they were well in the bottom half. They were 31st in 2021 in EPA. In 2022, they were also bottom half, and expect to see a very blitz-heavy sort of scheme here. Lions ranked 6th in blitz rate and 10th in pressure rate, only 28th in sacks throughout sack rate during his time with the Lions. So basically, expect him to send extra people and to blitz a lot and still not get a lot of sacks, which sounds great. But I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about this. I wasn't so fired up about bringing in Wink Martindale, especially with how it ended with the Giants. Nadler, you were a Giant fan for a period of time. Andrew, you were like, how bad the falling out was with him and Brian Dable and everything. I know the defense was solid under him, and they were obviously he throws out a lot of exotic blitzes and big pressure packages and stuff like that. And he's had varying degrees of success in the NFL, but what was your Wink Martindale experience as a Giant fan? I think the league's passed him by a little.
Yeah, I think. Oh, my bad.
You go first.
Yeah, I think you're right. The league's passing by. The whole falling out with Dable, I get that. And then he takes the Michigan job, because I am a Michigan fan, if you couldn't tell. First year there in 2024, the defense, massive strides. They looked like Swiss cheese in the first half of the season. Then the second half of the season, they locked down. They end up beating Ohio State somehow. Then this year, it's like they started strong and then became Swiss cheese at the end of the season. It's I think the game has passed him on. He's a legend. He's incredible at what he does on defense. These exotic blitz packages that no one knows. But I think, Matt, you are right. The game has passed him a little
especially
bit.
Especially at the NFL level.
Especially the NFL level. Now these guys are far more athletic.
Right.
And it's I think it's going to be tough for him to get a job. I think retirement's calling his name.
Yeah, is he? So he's back at Michigan, right? He's still
there? He's no longer on their staff. They hired Jay Hill from BYU.
Did they fire him? What happened?
I'm not too sure.
I think he just walked.
I think Whittingham let him walk because Michigan fully. We can get into this at another time. I can go on and on about this. They fully revamped their staff. They kept a couple key guys, but I think Martindale was let go when Whittingham came in and just revamped his staff. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. What I'll say about Wink is he was good with not a lot to work with. When he was the DC with the Giants in 2022, when they had that good year, when the vibes were high, their defense was pretty solid. And listen, there wasn't much to work with. There was a couple names that you probably don't even know of now that I could tell you, Fabian Moreau. You probably don't even know.
Moreau?
You might, but he was a solid player under Wink for.
He wasn't terrible.
He was not bad. And the blitz packages he drew up would just catch people off guard. I mean, you wouldn't even know who was blitzing. So for what I'll say with Wink is I feel like he's good for a team that's bad that doesn't have much that can that's why I thought he might be a good fit for the Jets because listen
well, we don't have much, so we checked that box,
and he's good with working with with the Giants he was, but he was good with working with a team that didn't have much obviously they had Dexter Lawrence, yes,
right,
and I mean he's excellent obviously, but they didn't have anything in the secondary. I mean, it's just he drew his own thing, and it worked.
Yeah, I'll agree with Andrew here. I think what you said, working more with less. It's he got the most out of their players.
Exactly.
Dexter Lawrence is your big name. They had washed up Jalen Smith. Actually looked pretty good.
Their linebackers
actually looked. They had these washed linebackers. Actually looked pretty good, and these no-name DBs like Fabian Moreau. Jason Pinnock, who I don't even think is on the team anymore.
Nope.
He's a safety, I think.
Yeah, but these no names who are far more successful in life than we are.
Yes. Well, no, they don't have a number one podcast. I don't know. Yeah.
Matt, I don't think anyone's made the NFL. But that's the point. I think Andrew is fully correct here. The Jets would have been a good fit because they have nobody. Maybe they'd actually force a turnover, maybe force an interception with Wink. And force
maybe not.
Maybe they're the only way to go is up, but I think
you can't really get worse than that.
You can't. I think.
No.
I just think that Wink going to the Jets made a lot of sense, but there's no way he was going to take a job where he's not calling his defense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole falling out with Daves too was over disagreements about the way that the defense was run. And Wink was not good with it, and apparently Brian Dable got in his face and screamed at him, and then there was an inevitable parting of ways at the end of that season because they just weren't on the same page.
Do we not remember?
What?
It was over a slice of pizza. Do we
not my God, two fat guys over.
Gosh.
Fighting over pizza.
Over chocolate chip cookie.
Dable was like, oh, it was over a slice of pizza. Don't worry.
Of course it was.
1 week later, Wink relieved of his duties as DC.
And then it went downhill from there.
Did he make it to the end of the season?
Yeah.
Wink?
Because
Okay.
they beat the I think it was the Eagles actually. They beat the Eagles the last week of the season and then they just let him go. And that's
Yeah.
why
Right.
he went to Michigan.
Yeah, I'm surprised yeah. Well, then they hired the great Shane Bowen, who
Oh
was
my
just
God.
brilliant. Yeah.
Everyone's favorite, Shane
And now they
Bowen.
got another Titans. Oh no, watch out. Another
He's
Titans.
good though. He's good though. This guy's good.
What's his name?
They
Denard
ranked in
Wilson?
the
Denard
bottom.
Wilson.
Andrew Hubert.
Okay.
They ranked in the bottom of the league in like every defensive category.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
talent.
Yards, points, like important things.
He's a good DC.
Speaking of defensive coordinators, because I like to talk about my team and coordinators,
Hey,
Vic
go ahead.
Fangio is returning to the Eagles.
Oh God, big deal. Who didn't see that
Oh,
coming?
he was flirting with retirement. He was
Oh, he
flirting with
was?
retirement.
Okay.
It was, reports on Instagram, and he announced today he's coming back. And the Eagles, I know we're digressing a little bit, finally hired an offensive coordinator, Sean
Yeah,
Mannion from the Green
Sean Mannion. He was in the league not too long ago as
Yeah,
a
he was
backup
a
quarterback
backup,
with
long-time
Minnesota,
journeyman.
right?
He's
Yeah.
a journeyman, Seahawks, Packers, Vikings, I don't know. Takes the Packers. He's the Packers quarterback coach. Makes Jordan Love actually look good at football, which is kind of shocking. Because Jordan Love, I think he's a little overrated. Too many
Yeah.
turnovers. But, I think him going to the Eagles is going to be a good fit. Because, he's never called plays, but, he's a brilliant football mind, apparently.
Yeah, well,
think
we'll
he's
see
good.
if that's the case.
And anything can go up after Kevin Patullo.
Yeah, well, we talked about this last time too,
Yeah.
and it's just frustrating. It feels like every time the Eagles, in this Nick Sirianni era, they've brought in such competent offensive coordinators that go on and get head coaching jobs. The best ones have gotten on and gotten HC jobs, and then it's just rinse and replace, and
Yeah,
they've
it's
missed
like
on
a
a lot of these
never-ending
replacements.
cycle. It's like
Yeah.
we don't need to touch on this long, but you are right. It's like the never-ending cycle. It's like, oh, we have a good coordinator, takes a head coaching job. It's like,
Right.
oh, what's his name? Steichen, great OC, takes the Super Bowl, takes the Colts job. Brian Johnson, start 10-1, then face plant. Then the following year,
Right.
Kellen Moore, win the Super Bowl. Then Kevin Patullo. We're not going to get into that. It's a sensitive topic. And now they hire a brand new guy who's never called plays. So I'm excited to see this because it's new, it's exciting. I think they're going to, get their get back, their mojo, in a revamped offense.
We'll
Yeah.
see about
We'll
that.
see. And that's just a quick digression. We're talking coordinators.
Yeah, and just getting back to the New York Jets here, Brian Duker is in, so Glenn will be calling plays, and the offensive coordinator search still rolls on. I think it'll be Frank Reich, but we can talk about that another time.
Yikes.
All right, guys, listen,
Yikes.
Frank, there's nothing wrong with Frank Reich.
There's
But
a lot wrong with him.
all right, Bill Belichick's not going to the Hall of
Jets are
Fame,
so
at least this
bullshit.
time around.
Bullshit.
First time around, Bill Belichick is going to be on the list of elite NFL coaches that is going to have to take their turn just a little bit. He's not the first to wait. Most winning coach in NFL history by percentage, John Madden, waited 2 decades. Bill Walsh, who won 3 Super Bowls in 10 seasons with the 49ers, he was a second ballot entrant. But come on, Bill Belichick, most Super Bowls of any coach in NFL history, 6 in New England as the head coach, 2 as the defensive coordinator with the G-Men, and 31 playoff wins, and he's not going to the Hall of Fame. We got to talk. I saw a great meme on Instagram or whatever it was, and the Islanders lost, by the way, 4-1. Who we're going to wrap up the show with. Unfortunate loss. Every time I record an episode, they lose because I'm not watching, probably. But listen, Bill Belichick not going to the Hall of Fame. We can argue the logistics about this all day, but as a New York Jets fan, as somebody that grew up watching Bill Belichick squander my franchise, game after, I think the Patriots beat us with him. Funnily enough, I don't know if that's a word, his last game as coach of the New York Patriots was a loss to the hands of the Jets. And prior to that, he was on like a 15 or 16 game winning streak against the Jets. He was dominating the Jets, and then we beat him his last game. Nothing made me happier, even though it was a worthless Week 18 win that only hurt our draft position, but it still made me feel good because kind of had a feeling that that was it for Bill Belichick, and he got to end his Patriot career, potentially NFL career, losing to the team that he's only known beating for forever. So, but anyway, that's a quick digression right there. What are you guys' opinion on this? Andrew, you're a Giant fan, so you saw your team beat Bill twice in the Super Bowl, but from an objective point of view, take away my Jet fandom, take away the fact that you're a Giant fan and your team beat him twice in the Super Bowl. It is crazy to think about he did not get in, and I think all of us are shocked to some degree, but like I mentioned, those two other coaches, they were also greats. They also had their place in history as all-time NFL coaches, and they also waited. He would have been the first unanimous ever coach to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that's kind of the way the chips fall. So I don't know. The way that, for me, I'll start off with my argument here. The way that it ended in New England is the sole reason for this. And you could talk about writers getting revenge because of his pettiness to the media and him not answering questions in full and just being an overall dick to the media kind of all the time. Like, that might be it. But if you're a writer and that's your reason for leaving him on the outside of the Hall of Fame, you're a fraudulent writer. Shouldn't be about personal vendetta or anything. It should be objective and from the point of view of what he did in his career. And you look at the guy's resume and you say, yeah, no doubt he should be the first unanimous head coach to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I get that. But the way that it ended, to me, signified the fact that the Patriots' reign was about the quarterback. It was about Tom Brady. And all the proof you needed was the way look at his record the last couple of years in New England when he was lost without a quarterback and whatever. But the fact that the quarterback that left, that decided to go write his own story 2 years later, 1 year gets into the playoffs, comes up a little short. Following year later, he does it with pretty much a non-existent coach in Bruce Arians and all by himself. It was Tom Brady going and proving that it's me, it's Brady, it's not about Bill. And Bill was not holding up his end of the bargain on the other end with New England. So for me, that represents the reason he didn't get in. If he had success under, not even a Super Bowl, but if it wasn't as bad as it was when Brady left, and actually did make the playoffs that first year, I'm aware of that. They had a 10-win year, and they ended up getting crushed by the Bills in the first round there. But it was ugly. We all know how bad it was. His handling of the quarterback situation and everything. And just an ugly exit out there in New England. If it wasn't as bad as it was those last couple of years, and maybe it was just a tranquil ending, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the fact his quarterback did what he did with him gone, all the losing and how ugly things ended in New England, that's all the reasoning I need for me to say I'm good with it. It might not be the best decision in the world, but for me, that's good enough to say I'm good with it.
I'm gonna have to, I disagree. I think it's actually a joke that he isn't in. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't know why he isn't. Listen, I don't know the reason or anything, but the only reason I could think of, you have a good point with the one bad season after Brady left and then Brady won a Super Bowl, which I get. But they did make the playoffs with Mac Jones at the year after Brady left, which is pretty impressive. Making the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, it's impressive, and I can't say it's not. But maybe the deflated ball incident, I don't really know what it is that he isn't in, but I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Andrew, here. I think in the most nicest way possible, it's bullshit that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, Matt, you bring up good points. Like, Tom Brady leaves, he wins the Super Bowl, but it's kind of hard to win with washed-up Cam Newton and Mac Jones. But back to my point, I think there was some vendetta in there by former Indianapolis Colts staffers Tony Dungy and Bill Polian. Like, Andrew, you said Deflategate. Because, Polian goes out and says, oh, I don't know. Like, Bill Polian goes out on, the internet and says this stuff. Allegedly, it's I think there's some personal vendetta because Bill Belichick, you can throw every single negative adjective out there. That's what he did to the teams like the Colts and the Jets. Tormented, right, nagged, thorn in their side. But, he, regardless, is the greatest coach of all time. winningest, and I think it's similar in a way to like Derek Jeter not being a unanimous Hall of Famer in the MLB. Like that people have this personal vendetta against him for things like Deflategate and just beating everybody and the way they did it. I think it's just BS, and it's just a bad look for the league.
I hear your points, and I'm in the minority by even justifying the fact that he didn't get in. I'm not saying it's the right decision necessarily, but I see enough justification there. I've seen some other perspectives on this too. One writer who is a voter, he's a writer for the Kansas City Star. He talked about some players that he thought were on the backlog and they were sitting on the ballot for so long, and he thought that they had the right to be in, and saying that the backlog, once you sit on that ballot long enough, it's so overwhelmingly difficult to actually get in once you've been on the ballot long enough that he felt more compelled to be what he interpreted as the last chances and looming causes within the system. He preferred to give those guys that he thought had a shot, a chance at getting in the Super Bowl and one of their last chances, than go for Bill on the first ballot. And he took that as more of a shot at the Hall of Fame. He said, by ending that, quote, "a system I hope the Hall will see fit to change now." So some people didn't vote for him basically because they thought other people whose chances were slim because they were on the back end of the ballot for a while. You only get so many votes now. The system's changed. You used to be able to vote for whoever you thought deserved to be in, and it was just based off the criteria. Now you get a limited amount of votes as well. So he's attacking the Hall for having that limited system. But also, February 2022, the Hall of Fame enshrined its second worst class ever, based off of PFR's Hall of Fame monitor metric. And a lot more people are getting in now.
It's kind of
overall.
like it's not as like restrained. It's like kind of some more wiggle room for like players to get in, where it's not like you're the best of the best. It's kind of like baseball too at this point.
Yes.
Like kind of making the point where it's like these fringe guys getting into the Hall of Fame, where it's like you take a guy like Belichick, who's a goat of the sport, so on and so forth, where it's like it's a bad look. It's not the first time this has happened. Terrell Owens is a Hall of Famer. They held out with him because of like his antics in the media. It's understandable. But Matt, you said, and I'll come back to that point, it's like the wiggle room where it's like these guys who kind of deserve to get in, but not really. I'm going to throw out a hot take here, your Eli Mannings. Like,
Right. I actually do agree with that. I know the guy that left to me all the way that probably doesn't, but yeah.
It's hard for me to say that because I met Eli Manning. I have a signed football of him in my room. But like we'll make this quick. With the point you say, opening it up a little bit. Eli Manning, he has the 2 rings, and what else?
Against the greatest quarterback of all time.
Well, yeah, obviously against the greatest dynasty.
There you go. He's the only one to beat Brady twice.
But
Should have
He was
carved that
one of
extra
the most
time for
clutch
that
quarterbacks
segment.
of all
But
time.
you look at everything else, the turnovers, not winning. He's like a 500 record all time.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I agree. The record is the thing for
See
me.
this? The rings?
Yeah,
You
I
the
do
ring
see it.
finger?
The Rings are
That's
great.
so
They
good.
were carried by an elite defense.
Yeah.
It was carried by an
Carried by a
unbelievable
defense.
defensive line. Michael Strahan, all they needed was average quarterback play to win both of those Super Bowls. And
but
you know
I
what?
will give Manning credit this in the Super Bowls, like especially the first one
Clutch.
and the second one. When the game was on the line,
Clutch.
he led his team down the field. I will give him that. He was clutch late in the game, but like you look at this, he's kind of a glorified game manager, and that's tough for me to say because I loved Eli Manning. I met
That's
this
true.
guy.
You're right.
It's like I kid you not, it was like beating God at 7 years old. But like it's just like
And you still converted after that kind of experience, which is crazy. But
dude, I was like 7 years old. I didn't know what I was doing.
Unbelievable.
Andrew's still in shock about that.
Yeah, I can't believe that, Drew.
Dude, it's been 3 years. Move on.
Yeah, people. We still haven't moved on over that. You will
I bet
permanently.
you're a Philly, big Dom.
Drew, I plan on you being my friend for a very long time, and I'm never gonna let that go.
No,
Like,
yeah,
never.
of course. You're
That's
never gonna be
just
like.
There's no
It's
way you
part of
can
being
go from a
friends.
New York team to
No,
a Philly
dude,
team.
it's part of being friends. Where it's like you get on each other about everything. Like we get on you about being a Jets fan, me about being a depressed Jets
yeah.
fan.
Well, I was born into that misery. That's the
You
thing.
chose
You
it.
can't mock
Listen,
me
chose
he
about
that
didn't
being a
leave
Jets
that
fan.
misery.
Yeah.
He's sticking
Matt,
with that misery.
Matt, you
I'm
chose
sticking
that
with that
life.
misery as well.
Matt, you chose that life.
Listen, sure, I chose that life, but I also could have run out of the house when I was 12 and whatever. I was born into systems. I was born rooting for a particular set of teams. And I've stated this, and I haven't said this actually on this podcast ever, and it's worth mentioning now. I've said this to you guys. Andrew probably gets in too. I'm very glad that I'm a New York Yankees fan. I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm a Yankees fan. And I thank my father for the fact that I was born into that. Because, sure, we haven't won a World Series since 2009. I was alive for it. I was only 4. I was born in 2005. So I have that championship. I wasn't super conscious of it. But the Yankees have done an immense amount more winning in my lifetime than the Mets have. So for that reason, I've seen a lot more wins, more successful seasons. I'm happy. But the honest truth about it is, if that I was born from a purely objectional point of view, and I was not handed down a certain set of teams from my father, being my dad, I would probably be a Mets fan because of the geographical aspect of it.
This is recorded. Thank God this is recorded.
And the fact that all of my friends are. I acknowledge that. Maybe that's not 100% true. Maybe I would have taken up my uncle's fandom. He is a Yankees fan as well. So I don't know how the dominoes would have fallen, but I'm just guessing based off the fact that all of my friends are Met fans. I go to Citi Field, I would say as often, maybe a little bit more than Yankee Stadium. I'd probably be a Met fan. I'm glad that's not the case, because I was born into being a Yankee fan. You were born into being a New York Giant fan. I don't care if you pick a second favorite team or whatever you like to do. I wear all the hats, obviously, or I did. I don't really do that as much anymore.
Style.
For you to be at the age you were, a high schooler, granted, maybe, I guess, if you switch in like 5th grade because you fell in love with the team's jerseys or something like that. But you were fully conscious in high school, born and bred a New York Giant fan from your father, who's a passionate Giants fan.
I wouldn't say passionate. I would not say passionate. He is
high school age and make that jump, make that leap of faith to the team down the turnpike, to the division rival Eagles. It's absurdity. It's complete absurdity.
Can I defend myself here? Okay, first off, I have family ties to the Eagles. I have family ties to the Eagles, but I get it. Also, in 6th grade when they won the Super Bowl, I had a Carson Wentz Eagles jersey, and there is pictures of me in my house in a Super Bowl 52 Eagles Super Bowl champions sweatshirt.
Why are you wearing that as a Giants fan?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was a gift from my aunt.
That doesn't make it okay.
If my parents bought me anything Eagles or Mets related, it's going straight in the garbage.
Dude, the writing was on the wall.
I would not even touch it.
Dude, the writing was on the wall. Dude, I cheered for the Eagles in Super Bowl 52. I was so sick and tired of seeing the Patriots win.
I would rather Brady win 10 rings than the Eagles ever win another one. That's
guess
my
what?
point of view.
Guess what? The Giants and the Eagles stopped him from winning 10, so we can unite there.
I guess.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to live with being called a bandwagon. I don't care. Like, I don't care.
You're not going back, that's for sure.
God, no. You know what? It's character development.
Don't come back. Don't come back.
I wasn't planning on it. I don't want to cheer for a poverty.
Once Jackson Dart wins 8 Super Bowls, he's going to go crying back.
God, no.
Don't cry when we're at the top one day.
When's that going to be? Never.
The world may never know, but
your mid-head coach. His younger brother's better than him. Both choking the playoffs.
All right.
Well,
just wait till September. I can't wait.
Wait till September. What, when the Giants start 0-4?
We got a lot. We got a long ways to go. We'll have a lot more podcasts talking about all that. But okay, that's. I guess I can't. Whatever. You got to say your piece. We're still gonna clown you about it, and you know that.
You know what? That's fine, because that's what friends do. We get on each other about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank God this is recorded so we can go back and have the clip forever. Matt saying if he had to choose his fandom, he'd be a Mets fan. And
I mean,
can I get rid of it? You're gonna live
Yeah.
that for your life.
By the way, don't interpret that as like, I wish I was born a Met. I go to bed every night and I hit
No
the
one
pillow
wishes
and I
they were a
wish.
Mets fan. I promise you that.
What?
No one wishes they were a Mets
No,
fan.
no, of course not. It just would have happened that way. Listen,
I
because I was
understand.
born on Long Island. If I was born in New York City or the Bronx or Westchester, probably a Yankees fan. I'm just being realistic about it.
Yeah,
So,
obviously. No, but it's
okay.
good on you about this now.
All right, we got to
We
get
digress.
going here. We got to wrap up because it's getting late. But I do want to talk about the Islanders a little bit and the Rangers. Well, whatever. But Islanders, tough
Rangers
loss
suck.
today. They fall to the hands of the Washington Capitals at Capital One Arena. That's now back-to-back regulation losses for the Isles, now sitting at 30-21-5 in the regular season. Tough loss for the Islanders. A loss to the Predators as well in regulation on Saturday night. But overall, you talk about this team and the way they've been playing. I don't even really know where to start with them. We haven't talked about them pretty much at all in this podcast. As of now, they sit at third place in the Metropolitan, so they would be the last non-wild card playoff team in the Metro to get in right now at 30-21-5. I don't know if I already said their record. Sitting behind Pittsburgh, 65 points. Pittsburgh in second place with 67 points. Carolina is in first place in the Metropolitan with 74 points. Look, the Islanders, really tough loss today. And really tough yesterday, or on Saturday, when they only needed like 90 more seconds to squeeze out a point, because every point is paramount at this point of the season with how bunched up the Eastern Conference is in the Metro. So really tough losing out on points whenever you have the opportunity to get one. But overall, the way that this team's been playing, guys, you're both Islander fans. You're both pretty big Islander fans. Just so far, based off what you've seen from this season compared to what your expectations were going into it, there's one particular player that you have to mention when you talk about that and why the reality is so vastly different from preseason expectations. That would be the 18-year-old phenom defenseman, Matthew Schaefer. How impressed have you been by the body of work overall this season? Could you have ever seen us in February sitting at a top 3 spot in the Metro?
I think this year they've fully exceeded my expectations. I thought they were going to be like middle of the pack like usual, kind of boring, but man,
Right.
was I wrong. They are an exciting group. The only Paul Bissonnette actually says they're exciting, and he's like the number one Islanders hitter in the world. The fact he's saying they're exciting to watch because of a guy like Matthew Schaefer, it's great to see. And I think if they get into the postseason, I think they're going to be dangerous because like they can sneak up on these teams. But at the end of the day, they've exceeded my expectations, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I think they'll make the postseason. And I think they'll get out of the first round. I think they're going to lose to a better team in the second round unless they catch lightning in a bottle like 2020 and 2021. But we'll see. They've exceeded my expectations, and I can't wait to see what happens.
That's a fair assessment, and you know the Islanders are playing well if Paul Bissonnette's giving them any credit. He hates the Islanders.
They've been playing great, honestly. I mean, who would have knew an 18-year-old would have been this good? I mean, did I know this? No, nobody did. Obviously, he was the first pick in the draft. But there was questions going into the season if he was even going to play. You know, if he was even going to be on the roster, if he was only going to play those 9 games and then go back down because of the rule. But he ended up fitting so well and looking so comfortable that, listen, he looked great. So, and he's a fan favorite already. Great player. I personally already have his jersey. It's in my closet right now. Yeah, he's awesome. Listen, you know, they've lost 2 games in a row. Last night was a tough one. But when you give up 40 shots in a game, can't expect
They're going to find the back of the net eventually.
Yeah. Listen, your goalie can't save everything. You know, you're going to give up 4 goals when you're giving up over 40 shots.
Familiar friend Anthony Beauvillier did score tonight for Washington, too. Good friends with Matthew Barzal, in fact. Funny, quick story. I'll make it quick. But earlier this year, when the Islanders were visiting Washington, I think it was Halloween the last time that they played in Washington. The game before that, Matthew Schaefer was suspended and missed the game. And nobody really knew why originally, why he was like a healthy scratch and wasn't going to be playing that night's game. Well, as it turned out, news came out a couple days later ahead of the Islanders matchup with the Capitals on Halloween night that Matthew Barzal actually overslept his alarm and missed morning skate. And ahead of Islanders Capitals, Anthony Barvillier snuck over to the visitors' locker room and snuck in a little alarm clock at Matthew Barzal's little stand over there. So that was really funny. Just a fun little game that the two of them were playing against each other. Two old friends. I loved Bo back when he was on Long Island.
We'll never forget the Game 6 OT winner in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Iconic.
I was convinced they were going to the Cup final after that. And then Hart got ripped out on a bullshit shorthanded goal.
Yanni Gourde, never
7 men on the ice.
Yep, that one will infinitely sting for sure. Tough loss. But before we wrap up, I'll ask you guys about the trades that were made. Andre Palat is now an Islander.
Beautiful.
We just mentioned that the infamous shorthanded goal against the Islanders in the 2020 Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Finals that sent the Lightning on their way to a Stanley Cup victory when they beat the Islanders. And on that team was one Andre Palat, who is now a New York. Was he on the team? Yeah, he was on the team.
Yeah, he was. So was Darch.
Yeah, Darch was part of the front office over there, so this trade kind of makes sense. But a nice pickup for the Islanders. They improved their depth at the forward position with this one.
Obviously, the same amount of points as Max Siplikov.
Yeah, Siplikov's production was really bad this year anyway, so I don't know why a bunch of Islander fans on the internet were getting on them about giving him up. He kind of stunk this year. But Palat signed a 5-year, $30 million contract in the free agent summer of 2022 with the Devils after spending his first 10 years of his NHL career with the Lightning. He won 2 Stanley Cups there in 2020 and 2021. Obviously part of a Darch-led front office there. Not that Darch was the GM. His best seasons, he had a 40-plus point season 7 times with Tampa. And in 2014-15, he had a 63-point year, which is monstrous. And I think he won Rookie of the Year, too, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever the
Calder.
Is that the Calder?
Yeah, the Calder trophy.
Yeah. The Calder Trophy. He was a winner of that as well. So really solid career. And you look at his numbers this year. I don't know them off the top of my head, but his production definitely dipped down this year with New Jersey, and it's been declining the past couple of years. But we've seen the Islanders. I heard somebody say this, and I'm saying it. I think it's worth repeating. Very reminiscent of a Lou Lamoriello type trade deadline deal.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It was kind of. I was about to say it's like kind of similar in the 2021 at the trade deadline when they acquired Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac from the Devils. Seems very similar to that. You pull an older guy who's been there, who's done that, and you put him on, and you just put him on the team, and they don't have to be the guy. They can produce, but not at a crazy high level. I think it's a savvy move by the front office. You dump a player who kind of sucked, and you got an established vet who's been there and can do that, and is going to be a great mentor for this team as they make to look the playoffs.
Andrew?
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually liked the trade. I was for it. I saw a lot of people complaining, as you mentioned, but I think Palat's a good fit. He hangs around the net, which the Islanders need a guy that, a leader.
And screen.
Older vet, puts the puck in the net, although he hasn't been amazing this year. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. The Devils haven't been great this year. But listen, I like the fit. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, the Devils have been not really up to their expectations.
Riddled by injuries this year.
They've been hurt by injuries for sure. I was at the game on, I think it was a month ago today. It was January 2nd, or it was the beginning of last month. The 9-0 drubbing of the New Jersey Devils at UBS Arena. I was in the building. I saw Anthony Duclair's hat trick. Listen, I've seen a lot of great Islander games. I've seen playoff victories, so I'll put the playoff victories above this. But that was better than any overtime thriller or shootout game I've went to. I saw an ML Heineman shootout winner against the Lightning this year as well. And which is surprising because there's nothing more really exciting in hockey than a nail biter and shootouts in overtime. They just get your heart racing. They're so exciting. That was the best regular season hockey game ever. 9-0. The goals couldn't stop. All of Duclair's goals were from like right above the left dot. It was like the same spot 2 out of the 3 times. It happened right in front of me. I had phenomenal seats for that game. So that was really cool to experience in person. And again, really tough losses these past few times out, especially because you're trying to keep pace, which is really hard thing to do. And I haven't checked the updated standings like right now, but if the Islanders do fall out of this 3rd place spot in the Metropolitan Division, they'd be on the outside looking in for the playoffs. That's how good the Atlantic is right now. I think I said I have it right here. Hold on.
65 points.
We have 65 points, and Sabres currently hold, as of a couple days ago, so they made it played again and already won. But the Sabres, as of a couple days ago, held the last wild card spot with 67 points. And that was before these losses. I don't know about games in hand or anything like that, but every game's like a playoff game. And especially when you're playing teams within your own division. Their next game is against New Jersey in 2 nights, I think. That's Wednesday night, or is it Thursday?
It's Thursday tomorrow at the Prudential Center.
I think they play tomorrow against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you're right. They're home against Pittsburgh tomorrow. So huge stretch, and we'll see how everything shakes out right now. And Drew, you mentioned Max Simplikoff, man. He's younger, he has more promise, but he's undersized. And so 35-point season last year, first season in North America, 10 goals, looked really good. 1 goal and 1 assist. 1 goal, 1 assist in 27 games this year. Yeah. So he's older. He was never a high-level prospect at any point throughout his career. So I'm not that worried about Max Simplikoff going over to New Jersey and becoming a superstar. So maybe he's got more, quote, upside because he's a lot younger than Palat. But Palat, man, he's the only player on this Islander team who has a Stanley Cup in his career. So you add an accomplished guy. The Devils coach was lauding about what a great locker room presence he is around everybody, and the locker room loss that they're enduring losing him. So yeah, feels like those and Zajac and Green contributed on those Islander teams that made a run.
And Andy Green was already there. Palmieri was part of it with the Zajac trade.
Oh, Palmieri, yeah, obviously Palmieri.
They're all former Devils. It's like half the team is former Devils. It feels like at times.
Yeah, which made sense under Lou because that's where
that was the old job.
That was his first job as GM, or actually having control of the entire team. Yeah. But Matthew Darche making similar moves. And Carson Soucy, the defenseman that we got for the Rangers. One.
Sticking it to his old team twice in 3 days. No, it was twice in 2 days, right?
Yep. Back-to-back days.
Just sticking it to his team. A couple nights ago at Madison Square Garden, he scores against his old team in their barn. What a way to just stick it to your old team.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then at the Garden on Thursday night, he is the first. Islanders won that game 2-1, so his goal, it wasn't to GWG. Schaefer buried the second one. So 2 defensemen scoring for the Isles en route to a 2-1 win at the Garden. How awesome is that? I mean, he's a defenseman. He does not light up the lamp very often. I don't have his exact numbers right in front of me, but he's not a big scoring defenseman. And for him to get one of his few goals this season against the former team in the second night of a back-to-back at his former home arena was awesome to see, dude. Islanders and Rangers do not do a lot of business together, too. We don't see these trades happen that often.
It's the third one ever they've done. I think it's something like that. It's like the third trade between those teams in history. And the Rangers are an original 6 team, and the Islanders have been around nearly 60 years.
Right. So that was tremendous. And man, we won't talk about the Rangers because we're going to wrap up. But I don't care what the state of the Rangers is. I don't care that their GM has already put out a letter saying...
Letter part 2.
Yes, letter part 2. We saw this a few years ago under the prior administration. I simply do not give a shit that they're uncompetitive right now and they're waiting for the trade deadline so they can unload all their top pieces and trade Artemi Panarin. I don't care. As a New York Islanders fan, anytime that you beat the Rangers, it feels good, and we're going to troll you. And you have to take it on the chin, Sean Morash and all these other Ranger fans online. You can't say it doesn't count. It absolutely does count. Last year, the Islanders were not a competitive team, really. They did not make the playoffs. You swept us, and we heard it plenty from you, so we have every single right to throw it back in your face. And this was a historic sweep of the New York Rangers. We outscored them 14-3 over the 2 games. With that loss, Rangers fell to 6-14-4 on home ice this season. And the first time in Islanders-Rangers history that they swept this series basically wire to wire. The Rangers did not hold a lead at any point over the course of these 4 games ever. First time that's ever happened, like I said. And they were shut out in 2 of the 4 games. 5-0 the first time.
Yeah, remember what Matthew Schaefer said when he got drafted? We're never going to lose to the Rangers.
Let's keep it going.
Yep.
Let's keep that going.
He held his promise. Absolutely. He understands the importance of the rivalry. Even though Ranger fans are trying to dumb it down right now, it's very important to us. So last week, the vibes were higher than ever. Now, the vibes have dipped down a little bit with the past couple of losses. But LGI, and we'll talk a little bit more puck about when Panarin gets traded and everything. I can't wait to see who ends up making that splash. Maybe Detroit, I don't know, return to Chicago. That would be really surprising. But
Detroit, that line, Panarin, DeBrincat, and then Showtime, it's probably going to be what happens. If he goes to Detroit, yeah, that just sounds real fun.
Yeah, that would be so. Showtime and him together on the same line again. They played together. Obviously,
and they're former Blackhawks.
All former Blackhawks. That'd be crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this edition of the program. It was a long one, guys. Thank you for hanging in with me. Thank you to the listeners for making it all the way this far.
Thank you.
And we're on our way in the week. Have a great. This will be out on Tuesday morning, so have a great roll to the week, and we have a lot of Super Bowl to talk in future episodes. So we'll see you soon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.